Yes, here we are at the Barbara C. Harris Camp and Conference Center in Greenfield, New Hampshire, where, if it wasn't for the pandemic, we would be gathering for our Fall 2020 conference. This is the outdoor chapel. It is located just outside the main building where meetings take place. The building and the chapel are situated just above the lake. And you know, I live less than 20 minutes from here. It's a real blessing to be able to come up and do this filming and share a bit of the beauty with you. My friends David and Jean Robbins live nearby as well. And I've asked them to come and share some of their heartfelt thoughts with us.
Hello, I'm David Robbins, retired UU minister living in Harrisville, New Hampshire.
Hi, I'm Jean Robbins. I'm the minister's partner.
The title of our conference, Waking Up to New Realities, is pretty accurate to a point. The wake-ups, though, have not been gentle and they've not been kind. The wake-ups have felt to me more like shocks of varying degree of intensity. The devastating climate fires, the hurricanes queuing up in the south and the east, the monstrous winds in the Midwest, the daily assaults on our democracy and trust, the violence that has come from racism in our country, and of course, the pandemic. The new reality of hygiene rituals and protocols, the reality of economic loss and uncertainty, and the new reality of not being able to be with family and friends on a regular basis, particularly in times of illness or in need. On June 10th, my younger brother Scott died from acute T-cell lymphoma. He was in a hospital several hundred miles away, and because of the pandemic, I wasn't able to be with him. That's one of the new realities that I'm waking up to, and I'm sure you're waking up to also. Deaths and losses and accumulated griefs. I try to address these new realities by staying connected with people by telephone and the internet, by writing letters and joining justice groups and making contributions. And I want to see faces and hear voices of beloved friends and family. And spiritually, I address these new realities through prayer, by letting my heart point the way toward who and what I love. People I know and people I hope to get to know better, such as you. The values of justice and equality and democracy and truth, my religious community and glimmers of hope. By letting my heart point to who and what I love, I've awakened to new possibilities, ones that I hadn't expected before the pandemic. New possibilities of friendship and connections and words and stories of inspiration, justice work and religious community and a spiritual deepening. I'm waking up to new possibilities for connecting with the earth and with you and with the Holy Spirit in ways I never imagined, and that gives me hope. But each of us has our own story of how we're coping with these new realities.
I had barely adjusted to my personal new reality of becoming a retired teacher when the pandemic hit, bringing with it a stunningly different actuality. My journal entry from March 29th reads, I've been feeling low and somewhat untethered this afternoon, fearful of the unknowns that have no boundaries. I was pedaling fast to absorb the new world, but quickly losing traction. Several days later, I wrote about an abundance of projects I could tackle in this open time and space. but confessed I was trending towards lethargy. And not long after that, I started a fresh page with the title Ideas and Action for Living with Calmness and Joy. That page still remains blank. Eventually, I began to live with an image of a balance scale, the type of scale with two baskets at the end on either end of a beam at equal distances from a fulcrum. One of the baskets filled daily with news of human suffering and our broken world. As the weight of that big picture basket increased, the opposite basket, the small picture, became so light that it barely registered as containing anything of value. I gave daily thanks for our corner of the country. Rural New Hampshire is an easy place to isolate. David and I have each other, and our children are well. The big picture of the new reality, however, was bleak, very bleak, and I felt powerless. Somewhere around week 6 of staying at home, I readjusted my lens to the small picture. I began making daily deposits into the almost empty small picture basket on the balance scale. I returned to piano practice, focusing on several long pieces, a few measures each day. In the evenings, I worked on my Swedish embroidery, knowing that even 10 minutes of stitching helped me move forward on the project. I began a new daily practice with my One Small Thing notebook, inspired by a friend who'd written about her similar practice in the local paper. Each day, I look for one small thing that brings joy or curiosity or thankfulness. I sketch a picture of that thing, adding details with colored pencils, and then I write just a few words. It might be a wildflower seen on our daily walks, or a star glimpsed in the middle of the night. The most precious small things arrived on May 5th, when our granddaughter Elsa was born, and in mid-September, when our 4-year-old grandson arrived with his mom, our daughter, from Colorado to stay with us for a while. And so the empty basket on my scale, the small picture basket, became filled to the brim. The big picture is still filled with sorrow and despair. But I am more in balance. I have reserves of love and energy that are renewed and recharged every day. I allow myself to look to the future with a thread of hope, a strong thread, that the new world will be better. People will find ways to meet on common ground and work toward the common good. On a recent Zoom call with our friends from the Midwest, we heard a story that lodged in my heart. 3 years ago, Nancy set a parsley plant on their deck. She noticed that small caterpillars appeared, immediately devouring the parsley. The caterpillars evolved into chrysalises, and eventually adult black swallowtail butterflies emerged. Every summer since then, swallowtail caterpillars have been returning to feast on a buffet of parsley and now also dill plants. This summer, Nancy noticed 6 caterpillars on a parsley plant. One disappeared, so she moved the plant to a different location. But there the caterpillars were threatened by a bird, so she put the parsley pot inside a cage. 4 caterpillars became chrysalises. When wild winds and pouring rain spelled trouble, the parsley plant was moved inside. 3 of the chrysalises became infected by wasp eggs, but 1 chrysalis remained intact. After several days, the black swallowtail butterfly emerged, holding onto the flower pot for dear life. Nancy moved the flower pot outside, watching for 5 hours as the butterfly's wings hardened, and then, with a hippity-hop, the wings fluttered swiftly. The butterfly rose and flew over the lilac bushes and then was gone. A thread of hope launched into the world.